welcome once again to Let's Talk Marriage. This is Pastor Larry coming to you this Wednesday afternoon with Let's Talk Marriage. All right. We're going to get right on into our program today. I hope everyone is doing well. If you woke up this morning, you are doing well. All right. We're going to get right on into our program today. Today we're going to be talking about pleasing our wives. Pleasing our wives. I need to write that down. Pleasing our wives. And that's what we're here, us husbands, we're here to be pleasers of our wives. First and foremost, pleasers of God, but we have to be pleasers of our wives. As often as I read across a segment on holybible.com, they have a lot of things dealing with the family, a lot of topics, and I took one of the topics there because I was actually thinking on the same thing. So I took a topic from there, and we're going to be talking about that topic. And one of the topics, it says, ask God to open your eyes to what you most need to know about your spouse. Now, this is so true because sometimes we misunderstand our wives and not realizing all the things and the pressures that they go through on a daily basis, especially the wives that work outside of the home. A lot of times they have careers outside of the home, and a lot of times they're under a lot of pressure, a lot of stress, and then they have to take care of the family, and most of the time, most of the wives, for the most part, they do most of the preparing of the meals. Sometimes as husbands, we like to pitch in, especially as good husbands, we like to pitch in and help out when we can. But for the most part, the wives, our wives are the ones that prepare the meals on a daily basis. So these are the things that we have to be looking out for with our spouses. We have to cherish our spouses. And another thing in this article, it says, it is common in marriage to pray for wisdom and understanding, but when was the last time you prayed for knowledge? And when you pray for knowledge, that's a different thing, because you are knowing, you will know things that you would need to know regarding your marriage. It turns out we need to. In the Bible and in the research, it is clear that it is usually not the big ticket issues, in-laws, money, sex, that causes problems in our marriages, or which lead to mutual delight. It is how we handle those things. It is the daily unspoken beliefs, assumptions, and practices that we make the difference regardless of the big issues. And that is so true. Sometimes we handle things as they come up differently. When we have issues, more serious issues, we handle those differently than when we do when there's, our issue is not that important. But everything regarding our wives should be very important. The vast majority of people in our research, more than 99%, deeply care about their mate, even in difficult times. We are trying hard, but we simply don't know some of the things that matter most to our mate. Sometimes we kind of miss it, as husbands. It's not that we do it on, and I always say there's no such thing as a perfect marriage. There's no such thing as, and I don't believe marriage is hard work, but it does take a lot of thought, consideration, a lot of listening, and a lot of not compromising. That's the word I'm looking for. A lot of compromising, because you don't want to be one of those spouses that that has to be right. You don't want to be a husband like that. You want to be a husband that listens to your wife, and and just things that practice. Even if we practice things Simply things like opening the doors, opening car doors for our wives. Those are the things that we have to practice doing. And in order for you to become perfect, even on second thought that I said that there's no such thing as a perfect husband, but you practice to become a perfect husband. The same thing is with a Christian. There's no such thing as a perfect Christian, but in our practices, what meaning our daily prayers, our devotion to Christ, our dedication to our church, that is practicing to become a church without a spot or a wrinkle, or a Christian without a spot or wrinkle. We have to practice those things, and that's the same thing in a marriage. We have to practice those things. When you have difficult times, when you come to difficult times, a lot of times when marriages face difficult times, it's usually because of, especially nowadays, it's usually because of finances, because the things are just so expensive, and it's not based on the cost of living. It's not matching, what things cost. You're not getting paid for what things cost. So we have to make sure that when we face these difficult times, that we remember to stay together, stick together, have each other's back. No matter what, have each other's back. Our wives has so much pressure on them because they running the household. Us men, we do things around. Even with us doing things around the house, the wife is still the one that runs the house. So we're the king of the castle, but the wives are the ones that runs the household. If you look at the lion kingdom, the male lion is considered the overall king of the king of the prime, king of their prime. But it's the female lion is the one that goes out and do the hunting and take care of the cubs. And that's the same thing in a household. Husband might be the king of the castle, but the wife is the one that sets the pace for what goes on in a household. If you think I'm kidding, watch the next time your wife's in a bad mood or having a bad day. Watch it. Everybody else, it affects everybody else in the household. So we have to make sure that we are making sure our wives don't have as many bad, because everybody have bad days. We make sure her bad days are limited to few. Sometimes us husbands, us as husbands, we can be a lot. Sometimes we do things. So sometimes we do it not knowingly, but usually that's not really an excuse. But sometimes we do things not knowingly. Sometimes we might raise our voice or might say something a certain way, and we weren't intending to say it. But sometimes us men, we like to talk off the top of our head a lot. Okay, fellas, you know what I mean. We like to talk off the top of our head a lot, especially when we think we're being challenged or something is the male ego in us. Then we start asserting ourselves, is what I want to call it. But we have to make sure that we are in line with the Word of God, and it tells us to cherish our wives, and we always want to go back on husbands. Wives, obey your husbands. Yeah, it's a two-way street. We have to make sure that we are covering our bases as Christian husbands. Sometimes us husbands can be a lot. Kids, the wives are facing all kind of things and all kind of pressure. Kids, jobs, life, and us. They have to deal with all that. Our wives have so much pressure on them. Our wives are a lot of times misunderstood. We don't understand them, and and they always say it's hard to understand a woman. That's why we need to ask God to open our eyes to what you most need to know about your spouse. That's why we have to ask God to guide us in the area to help us when to say something, when not to say something. Because us husbands, we're real good at saying something out of turn or saying something that's not necessary or dealing with something when we shouldn't have to. We like doing that, but sometimes it can be overwhelming to our spouses, and we have to make sure that we are treating our spouses with utmost respect and simply adoring them. They are what God gave us, our wives, and they are our soulmates, so we are to love and to cherish them. And Pastor Larry is always trying to do something different, or at least I try to. And sometimes you have to think, and when we think as spouses, we sometimes we think the wrong things, sometimes we think the right things. That's why we have to ask God to give us what we need to know about our spouses. And we get that knowledge of knowing our spouses. When we have that knowledge of knowing our spouses, then we can have a better marriage. And marriage, I always said it on our program, marriage is not hard work. Because when you love something, it's not hard work. Just like with just like with a job, you might have a job that you love going to, that you love doing, a career or something that you love doing. It's never hard work. Sometimes it can be challenging, but it's never hard work. And that's the same thing with a marriage, a great marriage. Sometimes it can be challenging, but it's not hard work, and it's not something that going to go and come. It's something that we have to work on. It's not hard work, and when you love your wife, that makes it even the better, and makes it the most wonderful thing that you can imagine. When loving your spouse, and when you love your spouse, things go so much smoother in your life. You go to work with a different attitude. When you didn't have a fight, you can even go to church on Sunday morning, because that's the time most couples get into it, is on Sunday morning for some odd reason. And we all know it, that sometimes that somebody might be running behind, somebody might be rushing somebody, and then but make sure that, again, there's another thing we want to talk about today, is make sure you're attending church with your spouse. A lot of times when you go into churches, you see mainly women in the church, which is fine. But when you mainly see women in the church and all of them are married, but their husbands are not there, there's something wrong. So you need to make sure that we are attending church together with our spouse. And we said it on the program many times. If you do not agree or do not like the church that your spouse is attending, you need to have that conversation, or that conversation should have been had before you got married, and make a decision on what church to attend together. And I know most men, because they work so hard during the week, Sunday is the day that they usually kind of, just kind of take it easy, and but what we want to do is we want to make sure, as churches, try to get these people out on time. Make sure they're not there all Sunday morning, especially if you have midweek service. If you have services during the week, the time is split during that time. You can give God your time at home, but when we come to church, we want to make sure that we get our parishioners out on time so they can spend time with. And then you'll find that you get more men in the church, because us men, sometimes we can be very impatient. You don't want them coming to church looking at the clock. You want them to come and say, "Oh man, that was a nice service," and it wasn't long at all. The next thing I know, it was over. And that's how you get your husbands to church with you, when the services are not that long, not all drawn out, and when the pastor's not up there talking crazy, prolonging the service. You get these people out on time, so that way they can spend time with their spouse. And you'll find when you go to a service that's not too long, but you got what you needed within that time, things that helped your marriage, things that help your family, you're more apt to take them out to Sunday afternoon dinner or a Sunday afternoon brunch or whatever you want to do. You'll have time to go and visit. You know, like if mom lives across town, you have time to take the kids across town to see their grandparents and you know, things like that. So we want to make sure that we are understanding our spouse and pleasing our wives. This is Pastor Larry. I'm going to be signing off until we meet again. But before we go, I want to take the opportunity to invite you out to our services at New Zion Christian Center, where I'm the senior pastor. And we're located at 15014 South Des Street in Plainfield, Illinois. Our services begin Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Again, that's 15014 South Des Street in Plainfield, Illinois. This is Pastor Larry. Until we meet again with Let's Talk Marriage. All right.